So Rav Pesach wrote an email to the Shalhevet graduating class of 2012. Okay, and I want to read an excerpt from it. Actually, I'll read the whole thing. It's short. It's very short.
You wrote it in 2012.
In 2012, yeah, to that graduating class. So this was his advice. So you got to imagine. I think this was his first Gemara class in Shalhevet, so this was a one paragraph piece of advice. So this is the advice he gave them when they went off to college. So he said, "Dear seniors, at our last class, I did not have time to adequately formulate." Oh, he gave me permission to share this, by the way. Not recently, but back then. At our last class, I did not have time to adequately formulate my farewell message to you, and I would like to use this opportunity to take a second chance to convey my thoughts to you. Okay, fine. I'm going to skip the personal stuff. Okay, etc. All right, here we go. So he said, I want to give you one piece of advice. When you see people who seem really smart or have great memories or some other talent who are very impressive, you should never feel inferior or inadequate. Do not become unduly impressed with appearances and never surrender your right to think for yourself and trust in your own mind. It is often the case that there is a deep wisdom that is not found in the fast mind, but resides in the slow, careful, methodical thinker. I thought that was great advice. So, I mean, obviously there's lots of pieces of advice there. I mean, one is he's differentiating between types of thinking. But I think the message of like not being impressed by flashy minds or by authority, but trusting your own mind is like a good takeaway message. So this is a matir for me to say that over the weekend, so I had spent a lot of time working on our question of like how to make sense of Perek, the first half of Perek Gimel, and I read all the Mefarshim that I have access to, and I only found one who made sense, and I was glad that I found that one who made sense. And I was thinking to myself, like it was one of these things where like I was, thinking like, and I'm not saying that like there's something unique about this area that made me think this way, but like, it's kind of weird when you think that none of the other Mefarshim make sense. Like when you just feel like none of them are explaining anything, you kind of start questioning your own sanity, But like then I thought on the way over, I thought of Rav Pesach's advice, and I was thinking like no, like each, you got to trust your own mind, and each, you can only ever see things the way that your mind sees. Then obviously you have to try to make the effort to see things, to be intellectually honest and to be thorough and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like if no one makes sense and only one person makes sense, like, or if no one makes sense, you've just got to trust your own mind, And I thought that was just good advice to advocate. And Rabbi Moskowitz was very good with this, because Rabbi Moskowitz is my Mishnah Rebbe, he was the only person I've regularly interacted with who never allowed himself in any sense to be intellectually intimidated by anybody. Like you could quote Rabbi Chait, you could quote Rashi, you could quote the Rambam, and if it didn't make sense to Rabbi Moskowitz, he just wouldn't be affected by it. Like he would think about it objectively, but like it would just be like a so what? Like if you could explain to me to make sense, then it makes sense, So I don't know, like that's kind of like the spirit that I have going into like, remember we're in unexplored territory now for me in terms of Koheles. So like whatever we find that makes sense, that's what we're going to go with. And I'm lucky that I found someone who made sense. But like if no one made sense, we would just have to go on our own, and like same thing in our Mishlei shiur, like sometimes none of the Mefarshim give good answers, and like someone in the shiur gives a good answer. If it's a good answer, it's a good answer. And like, yeah, obviously you check yourself for mistakes, but like you have to trust your own mind at the end of the day, So that's the methodology message for now. Okay, so let's quickly review the pesukim. I actually didn't bring the pesukim, so if you have the pesukim, then that's helpful. I'll put them up on the thingy, and then I have handouts for the Mefarish. But okay, so let's go here. Let me share the screen. We're not going to read all of them. I just want to reiterate by summarizing. Okay. So we had there's a time for everything and a time for every desire under the heavens. Time for this, time for that, time for this, time for that, time for this, time for that. 8 pesukim. What yisron is there in ma yisron ha'oseh basher hu ama? What yisron is there in the person who toils? Okay, so that seemed to be connected. I think we had the best shot at that. We had the Masudas David, who said that if you desire different things at different times, then how can you say that one of them is like going to bring you happiness? And then we had the Ibn Ezra, who said that nothing really is in your control. So how can you plan your life around, like, I want to make my life about peace, or I want to make my life about throwing stones or about hugging, and like whatever those are. And if nothing's in your control, it could be that you toil for something and then and that's hevel. Okay, so those are the two approaches we did. Okay, fine, but that only worked for the first 9 pesukim. Then we have, I saw I saw the thing that God gave people to be involved with or to be afflicted by. Everything God made beautiful in His time. God put the eternity in their hearts, or He put the world in their hearts. We didn't know what that meant. So that a person will not find the action of God or the work of God that He did from beginning to end. What does that mean? We had no idea. I knew that there was no good in them except that to rejoice and to do good in his life. That felt like a repetition of the end of Perak Sheni, except for the Lasos Tov, which Metzudas David said was in Hera as Nafsho Tov, but we didn't see that there.
Wait, let's see.
Hera, I think he's something like Hera as Nafsho Tov in the end of Perak Sheni. He used a lashon of like laharos.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly the lashon. Okay, so then gam kol ha'adam sheyochel v'shosav ra tov b'chol malo mataz l'kimki. So any person who eats and drinks and sees good in his toil, it's a gift of God. Okay, great. What's the point? Yadati ki kol asher yaseh ha'elikim hu yihi olam alav ein lahosif alav ein ligrov ha'elikim asay shiur milfanav. I knew that everything that God will do, that is what will be forever. You can't add to it, you can't subtract from it. God did this in order so that people fear from Him. What does that mean? How does this cause fear? What are we even talking about? Then the last pasuk, Mashaya kvar hu v'asher lios kvar haya. That which was is that which already was, and that which will be, which is to be, already was. And God seeks the pursued. We didn't know what that meant. Okay. Who comes to the rescue? The Mahari Kara. What do you know about him? Because I did not know about him. I actually looked into him. Yeah, it's his nickname, Kara, like Kara, like pasuk.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is he one of the like Masoros guys?
No, you would think that, but no.
Oh wait. Okay.
You would think that because
I read him once. He's kind of like Rashi.
Yes. Okay. So this is what I found out. This is what I learned. So I always thought he was a Rishon, like around, like an early Rishon. So it turns out we don't know. We know he was a contemporary of Rashi. We don't know whether he was Rashi's Rebbe, Rashi's Talmud, or Rashi's contemporary, because they quote each other. But unlike Rashi, who does drash, don't tell Rabbi Zimmer, the Mahari Kara does pshat. Okay, so he's from Troyes, or Troyes, however you say it. Troyes, I think is how you say it. Troyes. So he gives what I think is a beautiful interpretation. So I don't know if it's in the Mishnah, so I printed it out. We're going to read through the whole thing and explain as we go, and then try to come up with an approach for everything. Okay. Is there enough?
Yeah.
Oh.
Nice.
You don't have to throw it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like struggling to hand them out, so I just like put them down, like
Oh,
I them, and it fell.
Koheles. I don't know if that's Koheles. Okay. All right, here we go.
How did you find him? Where did you find him?
So he's in Standard Mikros Gedolos in mine. I don't know if he's in like the standard ones, but he's on. He's like most of Nach. He's there.
Mm-hmm.
I just for some reason missed him the first couple times I read through it. I don't know why. Okay, Lakolzman. All right, so here we go. Pisrono. Its explanation. L'chol davar. Boom. No, that's nothing. Okay. So he's saying for everything. Okay. So chayvitz he's saying is thing, not desire. Is laladis. Bishash nolad ben la'adam. At a time when a person gives birth. When a person like has a kid. Hu sameach. So he's happy. Umasameach es acherim, and he makes others happy. V'ilu haya mesim el libo b'shas mishtev v'simcha sheben hanola lo sofo lamus lo haya sameach alav. So if at the time of the partying of like the bris or whatever, he contemplated the fact that the kid's going to die, he wouldn't be so happy. Okay, that's one example. Next, Es latas, uminhag bnei adam lismoch b'shas netiya. People are accustomed to be happy at the time when they plant. V'ilu sam el libo sheyavo es la netiya zo. If he took it to heart that there's going to be a time when he has to uproot this plant, lo hayasameach aleha. He wouldn't be happy about it. Okay. V'chein kol ha'itim. Same thing for all of the other times. So that's the pattern here. Okay. Ahalalu. Pa'amim mevi devarim shetchilasan simcha v'achrisan tuga. Sometimes where's my phone? I need my phone for something later. Okay, here we go. He's gonna say French, and I asked people about the French. Okay. Sometimes maybe dvarim shetchilas and simcha v'acharis antuga. So sometimes there Koheles cites things where the beginning is joy and the end is sorrow. Upami maybe dvarim shetchilas and tuga v'acharis and simcha. Sometimes it's the reverse. You got some things that look like sorrow and they end in simcha. Es laladis v'es lamus. Hari dvarim shetchilas and simcha v'acharis and tuga. So that's the example of simcha and then sorrow. Es laharog es lirpo, a time to kill and a time to heal. By the way, some say that laharog here does not mean kill; it means wound. Because healing is not the opposite of killing, right? Wounding is. Hari devarim shetchilas and tuga v'achris and simcha. Okay, so there you go.
Snowflake.
What was it?
With that snowflake on the margin.
Yeah, I was looking at that also.
Weird symbol.
I didn't realize that was printed on yours. Whoops. Yeah, that's my footnote. Oh, that's what I was gonna. Okay. So I guess this is me telling myself that this is the time to pull out the Rambam. Yeah, so I here are Rambams for you. I think there are only 3 because I wasn't sure. Let me see if the one online is the same one as this. If it is, then I can give you one more, and if not, then there might even there's no. I don't know if there's another one. Okay, go to Berachos. So this is the beginning of his rhyme. Perek Tes. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be right. Perek Tes Mishnah Hey. I just want to see if this is the same thing. Tes Hey. Yeah. No. Okay, mine's different. All right, so I guess someone's gonna have to use a different one. All right, fine. So sorry about the people who are looking on the screen because what you're gonna read is different than the one I'm gonna say. I'm just used to this translation here. Okay, so it's on page Paytet in this edition, Joe. If you're looking.
What is it? 910.
9-5.
Fuck you, pay test. It's not pay test.
Oh, it isn't.
No.
Are you sure you're in Berachos?
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I have the Mishnah.
Okay.
Mine's on page 9.
No, oh, fine. So I guess we all have different editions. Okay, fine. All right. So this is a Mishnah that says Chayev levarach al harak shem levarach al tova. So a person is obligated to bless on the bad, just like he blesses on the good. Shnamar v'havta es Hashem l'kacha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol miyodecha b'chol levavecha b'shnei yitzrecha b'yitzer tov b'yitzer ra. Okay, fine. So it goes on, but let's look at the Rambam here. So what does it mean? They have to bless on the bad and the same way they bless on the good. Rotzalimar she kablim besimcha, meaning to say that you have to accept them with joy. Okay. V'yichbush rikshosav, you have to conquer or subdue your emotions. V'yashiv da'ato, and you have to settle your mind. Mind here meaning psyche. Kishem mavarech baruch dain emes, when you say the bracha of baruch dain emes. Ad shira'eh kamo b'zman shu mavarech hatov ha'metiv, until the point where you look the way that you do when you say baruch hatov ha'metiv. High level. And I brought this up to a student the other day, and she said that how can halacha demand that? And I said apparently it does, but this is a very, very high demand.
Is
okay,
that the chiyuv?
This is the chiyuv. This is the Mishnah. This is a halacha. This is we paskin this way.
Right.
Yeah.
But right. Okay. I thought can't legislate perfection.
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll ignore that for now. Okay. Yeah, you could learn it that that is just saying the ideal way to do it. Like when it says, for example, you have to be mispala in Avos, when it says you have to be you shouldn't daven like you're throwing off a burden. You should daven like it's talking, being mischane lifnei makom. That's, you could say that, mikar din, you're yote if you do it like a burden, but you should do it this way. Okay. Like Chachamim say in the majority of their matters, everything that heaven does is for the good. Okay, that we're not going to go into it right now. That's like you have an idea. This is a davar muskal. It's the first principle, self-evident truth for the Nevonim, for people who understand. Torah, just like the Torah, even though the Torah doesn't caution about this. Many things seem bad at the beginning, but at the end are very good. Many things seem good at the beginning and are bad at the end. A lot. Therefore, Ein roi lenavon lehitztair bavot tsara gadola ugzera harasakana. Therefore, a navon, a person of understanding, should not be afflicted, should not be pained when a huge tsara comes and a harsh gezerah that is endangering. Because he doesn't know the outcome. So too, you should not rejoice exceedingly when something good happens according to your thought. Because you don't know the end. Do you guys know the parable of the farmer? So this is one of these things that's quoted by multiple cultures. The Jews say it belongs to them, the Christians say it belongs to them, the Chinese say it belongs to them. So the parable, the version I heard from Rabbi Moskowitz through Doug Taylor. The parable goes that there was once a farmer who was very poor, and he had one horse and one son. Okay, and one day the horse ran away, just ran off. Okay, like into the forest, and the village people said, "Oh, such bad luck." And he said, "Good, bad, it's hard to say." So then a couple of days later, the horse who ran off came back leading in a pack of wild horses, which now the farmer owned. And the villagers said, "Oh, such good luck." And he said, "Good, bad, it's hard to say." And so then a couple of days later, the son was trying to like break in one of the horses, and it threw him, and the kid broke his leg. And now the farmer is out his only like helper. So the villager said, "Oh, such bad luck." And he said, "Good, bad, it's hard to say." Then a couple of days later, the army came by and conscripted all of the able-bodied young men, and like they didn't get this guy's son. And the farmer said, the villager said, "Oh, such good luck." He said, "Good, bad, it's hard to say." So like that's the attitude that the Rambam is saying that Nevonim have, is you can't tell whether something is going to be good or bad at the outset, because there's lots of things that seem good and then end up bad, and vice versa. So you should not rejoice exceedingly or be mitztayer exceedingly. And the exceedingly is important, because if you denied your emotions, that would also be a problem. It's that you have to you rejoice, but you realize that like my joy is only about what I'm seeing right now, but I don't have the full picture.
Mm-hmm. So it's because you're in Sabbath that you don't.
Yeah, because you're in something and you know that like this might not turn out to be good. And the halacha, he goes on to say later on, I don't think we're going to read this, but the halacha reflects this, is that let's say something happens to you that is bad now, but will be good. Like let's say a parent dies and you're going to get an inheritance. So you say the bracha on simcha, on tuga, based on the fact that you're feeling sad right now, even though objectively you're going to get good stuff later on. You say the bracha on your current state. So there's a reality to the current state, but then a navon will see into the future and know that that's not the case.
So this isn't like a what's it called, like a God's larger plan.
No, this is something that's muskal. What do they say? Muskal etel hanavonim, right? The Stoics write about this a lot.
Right.
And in fact, I was actually very pleased by this, because when we found out way back in the before times, before we found out that our school was closing, when we found out that our principal was leaving us, and the students were all in an uproar, I told them that parable. And then a few weeks later, we found out that the school was closing permanently. And I asked my English teacher, who was one of my mentors, who's very wise, "What advice do you have?" And he sent me the parable. And I was like, okay, it's a good perspective to keep in mind. So the Rambam is saying this like as a universal thing, not even dependent on like hashgacha or whatever. It's just like Chachamim realize that your immediate impressions of things are not indicative of the outcome.
This is one of the meditations.
Oh yeah, nice,
so.
good.
I just listened to it.
Okay, good. I'm glad I said that. I don't remember. Okay, so then he goes on and he says, I don't know how far we read. Let's just see. Wait, where are we? Yavchein asru alei mashal laharbos besimcha v'schok zulas im haisa osa simcha b'davar na'alek mo'asiyas hatov udrishaso. Oh, this is an interesting thing. So too the Chachamim made it usher to have excessive joy on anything unless it's joy over doing good and seeking good, because that's always good. If you're doing good and seeking good, that's something that's like inherently good, not a good thing that befalls you, which could be good or bad. Right? Let's say like learning is always good. Doing justice is always good. It's inherently good. Not you get like a raise or whatever. Like you don't know how that's going to turn out. Aval ha'azhara mehada'avon v'hatzar harim murfursam me'od b'sifir hanavim ad she'in sorech l'daber alav. We talked about this morning in Mishnah. The warning against despondency and affliction, meaning like worry and anxiety, that's well known in the books of the Nevi'im, and there's no need to talk about it. So all of this applies when that person is not steeped in the good from beginning to end, and thinks that he is in an ultimate state of bliss. But that guy, let's say you have a lot of like riches or wealth or success, and you think you're living it up, but that very thought of your imaginary success causes you to deviate from the good path, and then that causes you harm. So that could even be a liability. Okay, fine. About this, Shlomo says, there's a path that's straight in front of a person, but its end is ways of death. I think we end here. Therefore, a person should ask God that anything that happens to him in this world, good and bad, should be a cause for him to attain the true good, the true happiness. Because you don't know what it's going to cause in the particular. So that's just, I thought that the Rambam fleshed it out very nicely what the Mahari Kara is saying, that when stuff happens to you, you rejoice because it's immediate, or you are in sorrow because of the immediate, but you don't know how it's going to turn out. Okay? So now the question is, so what? So let's see where he goes with this. The idea is clear though, right? He says it's self-evident, right? Okay. V'sofa inyan mafarish. The end of the matter, he explains, Shahelim HaKadosh Baruch Hu mibriosav. Oh, this is a beautiful shot. That God concealed from his creatures, from his people, mibli asher lo yimsa ha'adam es ha'ma'aser asher asa ha'elokim merosh ve'ad sof. God concealed what he did from people, what he did from the beginning to the end. If a person knew what was going to be at the end, lo haya sameach b'shas simcha, he would not be happy at a time of happiness, v'lo haya mitztaer b'shas avela, and he wouldn't be sad at a time of mourning. So you see the pshat he's doing in this. What was the pasuk? Was it 9? No, 10. No, 11. That God. He hasn't explained it. He hasn't actually commented on that yet. Let's read on. Okay. So far what he's saying is you cannot see how things are going to turn out. Therefore, your emotional reactions to things are not calibrated properly. You're going to be happy, but the kid might die. Or you're going to be sad, but the thing might heal.
It's not a reason to not be happy though.
No, but he's not saying it's a reason like logically. He's saying though that if you knew what was going to happen, then you wouldn't be happy. Or you wouldn't be as happy. That's definitely true. You don't know? Okay. See if it happens in real life. when you know that thing's not going to last, then you can't have that happiness. And this is like a truth bomb here. Part of the happiness comes from the fantasy that it's going to last forever, and that's an unconscious fantasy. So when you know for sure that it's not going to last forever, you can't be happy in it in the full way.
Like you won't be the same, or it won't be at all.
No, you won't be as happy.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's like what the Rambam says, right? Is that he said you should be happy, but just not super happy. Okay. Ma yisron ba'asher hu amel test. What advantage is there in what he toils? So this pasuk is referring to things where the beginning is simcha and the end is sorrow. This is the explanation. Since everything is ultimately going to be destroyed and ultimately going to die, Yeah. Ma yisran ba'asher ha'oseh ba'asher hu amal. What benefit is there in what a person toils in? Pisrono, the explanation, Tmiani, I'm astounded. How can people be happy when they're toiling for these things? Because they know it's going to end. Okay, so let's put that to the side. Okay, he's expressing astonishment here. Okay, I want to read through all the pesukim, and then we'll put together an explanation. Yudaf, Ella ze hu hatam. This is the reason. Es hakol asa yafe be'ito. How do you think he's going to explain be'ito?
Meaning from like a localized point of view.
Yeah, in the immediate, right? So God made everything beautiful inside. Pisrono, kol davar sha'adam amelbo be'eshu oso yafe be'inav lasoso. Anything a person does at the time when he does it, it is beautiful to do. B'shas simcha, b'shas evela evla, right? So at happy times, happiness; sad times, sadness. It's like there's a certain rightness in the moment because you think that, okay, this feeling that I'm experiencing in relation to the thing is real. Yeah.
Is he actually saying this, or is he just going about how other people work?
Not sure yet.
Okay,
let's see. Gam es olam nasam libam. So he put the olam in his heart, in their hearts, and we don't know if olam means eternity or world yet. Pisrono lefi ha'olam shehu roeh b'shas harvacha. According to the olam that he sees at the time of profit, profit. God placed in their heart to rejoice at the time of profit. Livnos bayis v'lita kerem, to build a house, to plant a vineyard, lismoch b'mashu roe olam shel simcha, to rejoice in what he sees as a world of simcha. Okay, I'm going to give a different shot on that in a second. I just want to read what he says first. 3 more pesukim. V'helim mehem, and he hid from them, she'eno machashev b'shas simcha mashi yihi b'sof. That he doesn't think about the simcha, what's going to happen at the end. As he explains, that person cannot find at the beginning of the action what's going to be at the end. If he saw what was going to be at the end, he won't be happy. And Joe, I'm interpreting that as he won't be as happy. Yeah. Yadati, I knew, ki ein tov bank im l'smol philosophes tov b'chayav. Pisrono, its explanation. I don't know why he has to say that. Like, obviously, you're a commentator explaining. At all the times that we stated above in pesukim 2 through 8, in bahem yisron ki'im shuhu mashu samech b'sha kala. The only advantage is for him to rejoice at I'm going to say shah kala is like a passing moment, like a brief moment. And to make pleasure for himself in this world, in this life. This alone that he eats and drinks, God only gave you what you have now, and everything else is going to be consumed by others, like we said earlier, right? When you die, it's going to all go to other people. So all you have is what you have now. Okay, here's the French thing. All right, let me look at the French people who I consulted. Yeah, you can get some words there, right? Yeah. Okay. So this person said in modern French, Dieu a donné à toi pas plus. I don't know if that's right, but yeah. So gave Hashem and not more. Yeah. Anyut plus, not plus. Okay. Such God gave and not more. So it's like an acceptance of it's like a Samech Machalko idea. Like, this is what God gave and not more.
Which word is God?
Dieu. Like a Dieu. Yeah. Yeah. Deus. Yeah. Deity. 14. Yadati kikosha yasa elkim hu yihel olam. Pisrono. Yadati kikoma shakadosh baruch hu ose. I knew that everything that God does. Shema shezeh amal achar ochel. That which this guy toils after food. I don't know if that's how to translate it. Hu yihel olam. Pisrono kach roy lios olam. It is fit to be forever. I don't know what he means. Alav ein lahosif. Shema yomer lecha adam. Maybe a person will say, Bedin hayashiyarif adam yamim ad shiyochav yishte kol oshra v'lo yochlem acherim es yegio. Maybe a person will say it would be right if a person would live for the full length and consume everything that he made in his toil. So for that he says, Alav ein losif. You can't add to that. Meaning whatever God decreed is the cutoff point for your life, that's it. You can't add to that on the basis of, well, it would have been right if you got to enjoy everything that you made in your life. Umimeno en ligroa, and you can't subtract from it. She is katru midas yamav hacharutzim lo. To cut short the days that were allotted to you. Shari b'mute yamav nehene miyagio. In those few days, you can enjoy what you toil for. V'halokim asa shiru milafanav. God made it so that you would fear before Him. Pisrono, its explanation. V'davar zeh she'asa kadosh baruch hu shema shezeh amel achem ochlin also. So whatever God made, the fact that other people eat what you make, is so that people would be afraid before God. That they would take it to heart, saying, "Hello, ma'at yamai, my days are few. If I don't give from my possessions to the poor, the and acquire through them olam haba, machar humes. Tomorrow he's going to die. I'm gonna die, and other people are gonna consume it. But if a person were to live for a long time, he would not apply himself to do good, because he's gonna just push it off and say, like, it's like if you have a paper that was due in 5 years, you're just gonna push it off. You're not gonna do it.
People do it anyway. They're like,
yeah, kal v'chomer if you had infinite time, right?
Correct.
It's only the fact that like you do age and you do see people get cut off before their time. That you get into gear, I was listening today to a Tim Ferriss interview of Kevin Hart, and I didn't know Kevin Hart got into some big car accident. I don't know when it was, but he said that he basically decided after that to be like old people. He said, you ever notice how like old people don't have any patience for any nonsense? Because they just don't have time for that, So he's just gonna focus on what's important in life. Which for him, he said, is his family and like doing basically like self-actualization, which for him is like comedy, like bringing joy to people, and so he's just not going to worry about like what other people think, but the comparison to the old people was the thing that like got me there. Okay. Let's actually wait, does he interpret this here? Okay, I think he actually does learn 15 to be in the next batch of pesukim. Okay, so now what do we make of these pesukim here? Okay, we don't have to say everything he's saying, but I think the approach he's taking is good. So what would you say is the subject of all these pesukim? Think mishleically, like what's the overall subject?
wait, why Mishnah?
I'm just saying something that would help you put it in a familiar context. Treat it like one big pasuk.
That people don't see the long-term results.
Yeah. So the whole thing, and this is why I think this is a beautiful shot. The subject of this whole thing is time. Okay. And the fact that people can't see the ultimate outcome of their actions. Let's just summarize the points he's making. Number one point is, since you can't see the ultimate results of what you do, if you saw the ultimate results of what you would do, your emotions now would be different. And the fact that you know this should have an effect on what your actions are. Okay. And the effects on your actions are enjoying what you do have and then using it for things that do have an eternal value. Okay. Which in our framework in Koheles, we haven't yet encountered thus far, other than in the Tachas Shemesh illusion. Right. But this is the first time he's talking about lasos tov v'chayav. Right. This is the first time he said that explicitly. So that's one idea. And then I want to say that the pshat, he said God placed the world in their hearts, meaning that the world that they see right now is the one that they feel enjoy. But remember, olam means eternity. Okay. So I think a better pshat, according to his whole approach, anyone want to give a better pshat?
Yeah, that he placed the feeling of eternity.
Yeah. God placed timelessness in your hearts, this feeling of timelessness, where any feeling that you have right now, you treat that as the feeling that will last forever, or like is indicative of like, or as if it won't be interrupted. So when you feel simcha, you feel like this will be good, like going forward, or when you feel sad, it's like, this is going to be horrible forever, So that's an illusion, but that's something, the way that God designed man. And he's saying a reason why God designed man that way, which is that, he's not saying a reason. He's saying that I got it mixed up. He's really saying the opposite of that. he's saying that if you were cognizant of that point, that these things wouldn't last forever, then you would live your life differently. That's the point he's trying to call your attention to. Okay. And one more point, and then let's just try to get it clear. I just wanted to list the points first. He's saying that, what was the other point? I'm missing the other point he made. Oh yeah, that God did this so that people would fear him. Okay, that's the part that I haven't fully worked out yet. But that's the last one. So he said that what that means is that that a person will realize that they don't have forever and that their life could be cut off, and then that will cause them to act in a way that's in line with Yiras Hashem. But I want to think about this. Yeah. Okay. So what do we make of it? Those are his points. So based on this is the best I found. Okay. So what do we get out of this in line with our approach to Koheles here of his exploration of Yisron here? How does this develop his argument?
Well, it's probably not that much of a helpful comment, but it sounds like it's a manifestation of Dor Holis Badorba Hard Oneness.
Okay, that's certainly true in the sense that people are going to die, right? Yeah.
It almost seems like even if Yisron were real,
Yeah.
it's like not even real. Like, meaning that
Whoa,
even,
man.
even if you were to say that whatever one of these things was Yisron, like actually,
Yeah.
if you were actually to like kind of go into it, you'd realize that even as much as it's Yisron, it's not actually, because even within that framework, there's an imbalance and a fadingness to it. And it's not going to.
Okay, so this is what I was thinking, and tell me if this is what you're saying. Okay, which is that this is a thing that, because you realize that it's a tendency of a person to attach more reality to the present experience and project it forward. So then anything that you identify as like, my life should be all about this thing, that you should immediately call that into question, because this thing is not going to be the same way forever. And the nature of all simchas is that they could end in tuga, and the nature of all tugas is that they could end in simcha. So like, it's like a built-in check. This phenomenon of God placed eternity in your hearts, and the fact that people attach a greater reality to what they're experiencing in the present than what can be in the future, that itself should be a check on anything you try to ascribe eternal permanent value to, that this is just going to make me happy forever. And that recognition, the fact that it won't last forever and that you can't control what's going to happen to it, that this thing that looked like it was good now, like the son that was born, could turn out to die, that will cause you to have this like laser focus on what can I do with what I have right now, which was how he ended off on Perek Sheni, which is the Sameach B'Chalko idea, Yeah.
So a few days ago, we were doing the Gemara on about like the Agadata.
Yeah.
Like
the Day of Death thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like a last resort, like
Day of Death. Yeah.
So it seems like now we're saying this is like should be sort of constantly on your mind, like not as like a shock.
Koheles lived before the Gemara. It's a good question. Yeah. There's a rule. I'm not criticizing you.
Yeah.
There's a rule mentioned by many Gaonim and Rishonim. We don't ask kushiyas from Agadatas, and we don't bring proofs from Agadatas.
Got it.
Okay. And if you want the sources, I can show you the sources. Okay. The reason for that is that Agadatas have their own localized application, and also it's different in Chitos. Like it could be that he is disagreeing with Agadata, And I'm not trying to say that to dismiss the question. It's still something that needs thought.
Right.
But let me tell you this. Anyone who reads Koheles sees that he's not saying that thinking of death is a last resort.
Right.
Like that's the entirety of the book, So like I would not be surprised if he disagrees with that Agadata.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering some way to harmonize them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there is, but yeah. Okay, so we have to stop now. That's the perush that I found that was of value. So what our goal is going to be for next time, for Thursday, is see if we could put it together in a packageable idea and then go on to the next pesukim. Okay, I think it's time to move on. But this is the most, I was just rejoicing, maybe this is going to end in Tuga, but I was rejoicing to see someone explained this in a way that at least is one consistent flowing idea that it makes sense on its own and fits the words. And it seems like there's potential to integrate it into the way that we've been learning it. So huzzah.
You also didn't explain how
Oh, so that I think he's not learning as part of this unit. I think he actually is learning 15 as part of 16 because he's talking about the injustice thing. Yeah. All righty.
Cool. Thank you.
Hope that was good. Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Hope this election result ends up being Simcha at the end. Ha 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 ha.